So how's it going, everyone, and welcome to another video. Now, with the first beta weekend of Battlefield 6 wrapping up, I thought it was a good time to just give you guys my thoughts on the current Battlefield 6 beta and what I think about it. Now, this isn't going to be a full review kind of deal. I just want to give you guys my first impressions of playing the game for around 10 hours, what I like and what I dislike about it. So let's get into it. So let's first talk about some things I liked about the beta. First of all, I do gotta applaud DICE and EA for actually bringing some good PC optimization. It didn't take that much to get above 120 FPS, which is awesome to see. And from what everyone around has been saying, as well as a bunch of videos testing benchmarks on older GPUs, the PC optimization seems to be very good in this video game, especially compared to the current landscape of games where in order to hit 30 FPS, you basically have to turn on some upscaling technique. So big ups to DICE for trying to really actually optimize this game to work on as many systems as possible without needing those upscaling or, AI kind of related features. Second of all, I gotta say, with that optimization, the actual graphics and atmosphere of this game is stellar. I know some people are saying that the setting feels way too generic and bland, like it's another military first-person shooter, but in the current year, we rarely get truly grounded first-person military shooters from big AAA companies in the current year, especially ones that keep that grounded, realistic tone and aesthetic well into their own live service models. I also was surprised by the lack of bugs too. Like, from what I can remember, I only encountered really one or two major bugs, and none of them really hindered my enjoyment of the gameplay. A lot of it was mainly just visual stuff, but for the most part, I didn't really see many bugs. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that bugs don't exist at all. It's just that from what I played, it's very stable, and the bugs, if they did happen, did not hinder my enjoyment of the gameplay. And speaking of the gameplay, let's talk about that. So first, let's talk the gunplay. I think the gunplay and movement in this game is solid. Very similar, honestly, like a mix of Battlefield 4, or not Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, honestly, and Modern Warfare 19. Like, it's kind of like a mix match of those two in terms of movement and gunplay, and it feels really good. It feels snappy, and it feels good to just run around in the environment. Surprisingly as well, I didn't see many people play this game as frantic as, like, say, Warzone. I rarely ran into any people who were actually jump shotting or drop shotting or like slide bunny hopping and all that stuff. So overall, the gunplay and movement is pretty solid and much more toned down compared to Battlefield 2042 or even the previous Call of Duty games. A lot of the smaller mechanics are really awesome to see as well. I really like the drag and revive system, being able to just pin or just stim someone up and you being able to drag the wounded body away from a bad revive spot is awesome. I think it works way better than I thought it would be and helps a lot in those like really intense scenarios, especially on breakthrough. The weapon attachment system I also really like in theory as well, where basically you have a pick 100 and you can't just spec your gun to whatever you want, like how in Call of Duty is. In this game, you actually have to think into what you want to build because, some of the best attachments may cost more points, so you may not be able to put extra attachments. Now, in the beta, we really didn't get that many attachments, and some of these attachments basically made the guns laser beams. So there does need to be some balance that needs to be done there. But overall, I do like the idea of having this kind of like pros and cons or like a budgeted system for the attachments. And overall, I just think that all of these little mechanics combined with the excellent gunplay, solid movement, and surprisingly balanced destruction, in my opinion, make into a very, very fun Battlefield experience. Me and my friends have been having a blast playing this game. And yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun just blowing up buildings and doing all that stuff. But it's not all perfect, and it's time to talk about some things that definitely need some improvement. First of all, let's talk about the menus. I thought we were done with the Hulu menus, man. These menus kind of suck, and the settings menu especially needs a lot of rethinking and retooling because it is quite confusing to navigate through. It needs a lot of work in my opinion. Now, in terms of like TTK, the time to kill has honestly been pretty good. In most ranges, I feel like I can take down most enemies in a fair amount of shots, but I feel like at close range, I get melted super fast, which is kind of weird. Like, it feels like a little bit of desync of like me dealing damage versus me receiving damage, where like I die super fast for some reason. I think there's a little desync there. I think it's called time to death. So I think there just needs to be a little sync up in there, as well as perhaps maybe a slight bump in the TTK. But overall, I think it's in a pretty decent position, and the devs can always change it down the line if they need to. Next, I want to talk about the classes, and specifically the specialty weapon traits. I'm not really talking about the actual classes themselves. To be honest, I like the state that they are right now. I think there could be some tiny improvements, but overall, I like the current balance. But I feel like specifically signature weapon passives have not been really that great to incentivize people for using those signature weapon traits, especially if most of the modes are based off of an open weapon system where any class can equip any weapon. There needs to be better incentives of using the signature weapons over everything else, because I feel like in the current sandbox, it feels like the passives rarely do much, if at all, to incentivize players for using those specific weapons. There's also a big discrepancy in the vehicles, and this ties a lot into how the maps in this beta were pretty small compared to other Battlefield games. I just feel like the vehicles are all over the place. First off, I think the HUD and feedback when driving and piloting these vehicles doesn't feel great. Like, for example, when you're piloting a tank, the game doesn't really do a good job of portraying when you're entering critical or low health and basically where you're getting shot from. Like, the health bar is at the bottom, but it's very small to see, and the damage indicators are not really visible immediately so that you know immediately to take cover or like move out of the way. Personally, I think at least when it comes to actually, controlling these vehicles, I think the HUD specifically needs a redesign to make sure that it's more obvious to the driver on what's going on and whether or not they're in danger. But outside of that, they can be extremely oppressive because of the map size. Like, for example, on Cairo Breakthrough on the first sector, if you're playing as attacker, you can spawn in a land vehicle and you can just literally camp spawn and just bully defenders off the street without much thought. If you're getting hit, all you need to do is go back to your spawn and repair your tank or whatever, and you're good to go. It's insanely effective, and you can rack up so many kills with it. And so I think there needs to be some more balance, and I think it's mainly just due to how the map design is in this beta, and which is another con, I guess you can say. A lot of the maps in this beta felt more like Bad Company 2 Modern Warfare 19 style maps. 2 of the 3 maps in the beta were definitely on the smaller size of the spectrum of Battlefield maps, and it just resulted in a lot more heavy emphasis on the infantry gameplay and a more chaotic map flow because of it. We didn't really see that much vehicle heavy combat outside of Liberation Peak, which is the map that wasn't that small, but it definitely feels more like a Bad Company 2 size more than like an older Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 style. And that's sort of the vibe that I was getting when playing this beta, right? I know the devs have been saying that they're trying to make a spiritual successor to Battlefield 3, but after playing the beta, it feels more like a Bad Company 2 / Modern Warfare 2019 experience, like a mix mash of the two, combined with some Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 elements. And this beta definitely focused a lot on the infantry gameplay rather than the big scale vehicle combat. If you're someone who likes that smaller infantry experience, I think you're going to really enjoy the beta. But if you're someone who is more into the Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 vehicle focused or like, big scale battle combat kind of deal, unfortunately, I don't think that this beta does a good job of showcasing that full vehicle infantry combined arms experience. And we'll just have to wait and see if the full game actually, brings that into the light with more of the larger maps coming at the full launch of the game. So yeah, those are just my quick thoughts on the Battlefield 6 beta so far. Like I said at the start, this is not meant to be review. These are just my raw thoughts of the game from the moment to moment gameplay. There are other things that we can talk about like server browser and all that stuff, but I feel like that's for a different video. But overall, just from a gameplay and just playing the game, I've been thoroughly enjoying it, a lot more than I thought it would be. Especially coming from 2042, I am definitely more cautiously optimistic of Battlefield 6, and I'm excited to see how they end up pulling off the launch. So, yeah, hopefully, you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one later.